Imagine this. You're a content creator and you are about to go on a trip of a lifetime. You're going to Switzerland, you're gonna be hiking in the Swiss Alps, you'll be visiting the cities, you're doing all that stuff. So what do? You spend hours creating shot lists and B-roll lists and scripts and outlines, all that stuff. So you are prepared. You go on your trip with this folder, everything all lined up, all listed, ready to go. And when you get there, you throw it all out. That's what I did this past month when I went on a hiking trip with my son. I had everything all lined up, and the day that I arrived, I scrapped it all. In this episode of The Creative Alchemist, I'm going to share with you why I did that and why that actually made me a better creator. Because sometimes the best laid plan is no plan. This trip to Switzerland was first and foremost a father-son trip. And this was for my oldest, who had really worked hard to finish high school and get the grades he wanted to get into the university that he wanted to get into, and he did. And so we asked him, like, what is it that you'd love to do? And he's an adventurous type, and so he likes hiking and all that. And he also mentioned that he had never been to Europe. So I thought, perfect, we'll combine the two. And I started researching, and I thought, Switzerland, I've been there many years ago, but I've never hiked there. And it would be great for us to kind of do this together and also hang out and, go grab dinners and all that kind of stuff. So I organized it, and I booked this, I think, sometime in February. And as the date was getting closer, I thought, you know what? I have all this gear. I have my little action camera. I've got this camera here. I've got all this stuff. And what if I can take advantage of like the Alps and the beauty and the backgrounds and all this stuff? That would be great. That would make great content for this channel or anything else I'm doing. So I started to research and I started thinking about what kind of content I'd like to do. And I just put literally a spreadsheet of the type of content, and I started building out shot lists and B-roll and how to, overlap so I'm not spending so much time with the camera. Because again, this was a father-son trip, and I didn't want it to be like so overwhelmingly like a shoot. So I put everything together and I thought, okay, this is good. This is concise, it's simple, and I'll be able to get like maybe 10, 12 videos out of it. Like, how cool is that? Like, I could take advantage and still be with my kid and enjoy the time together. But it didn't quite work out that way. What happened was this. We landed in Zurich. We kind of chilled in the hotel because it was late. Next day, just walking around. And I had this overwhelming sense like, Paul, this is not it. This is not the time, the place to do this kind of, shoot. And it was like literally the first day, and I was so annoyed because I spent so much time putting this together. And so there was that voice inside me saying, Paul, this is not it. Whether it's my guides or my higher self or just, rational thinking, it's just like, this is not it. And part of me is like, yeah, but I did all this stuff. So I started like defending myself and getting like, no. And I had a little battle in my head, but it didn't take long before I was just like, no, this is not it. This is meant to be a trip where you're present. And it's hard to be present if I'm looking through scripts and all that. Like, I just knew it wouldn't be enjoyable for him or for me. And so that night, I remember going to the hotel room. I looked at my folder, which I was so proud of. It had my little binder and had all the lists and everything, spreadsheets. It was a Virgo's dream. And I ripped it up. I didn't just put it in the garbage. I physically ripped it up into pieces. And as soon as I did that, I felt relief. And I'm really glad I did that because, well, first and foremost, the hikes, they were gorgeous. They were beautiful, but they were hard. Like, I couldn't imagine trying to like set a tripod somewhere and getting out my gear and all that when it was really hot. There's, sometimes flies bothering you. The terrain was not hospitable for this kind of work. I mean, I felt like, at times, because it got really steep and really high. The first day was 4,500 feet elevation, and it just kept kind of going. And so I'm trying not to die, let alone trying to like maneuver things and pan and do, it just wasn't going to happen at all. Like, I was just happy to make it alive to the next hotel. But it was that voice at the beginning, even though I was just in the streets and everything was cool, that this was not the time and place. I mean, it could be a place, maybe not the right time. And I'm really glad that that part of me said, this isn't it. Now, obviously, the big benefit of that is that I was really present with my time with my son. Now, mind you, he was always ahead of me because he's faster and nimbler, and he was like a little mountain goat, and I was just like this, pregnant yak trying to get through. But just being present with him, even if we weren't side by side, and also just present to my surroundings, as opposed to trying to look at everything through the eye of like, oh, this would have been a great shot, or this would. I stopped doing that pretty quickly. What it also invited me to do was to think differently in terms of creativity, because I am always looking at things through the eye of a lens, or like, a description for like, writing something, whatever. I'm always kind of looking at it like that. But it also pushed me into like, how can I create on the fly, still be authentic to this experience, and also share? Because that's really, it was this combination. And it was also in many ways a very spiritual kind of trip, because it was really grounding for me and really tapping into what is it that I really truly want. And as a creative alchemist, we all have this creative alchemy within us. I believe that who we are and how we grow, that is right in there with our creative source and spirit, right? And what we see and what we create is a reflection of who we are. And so it's almost like I was being invited to like grow from within, resist trying to like organize everything, resist trying to compartmentalize everything, just be. And for me, that was the real growth, was putting aside what I thought the experience should be and allow it to unfold in front of me as it needed to be. And so ripping up those shot lists and all that freed me from this really strict way of being. Now, of course, if I was shooting like a film, or I was doing something really structured and organized, I would need that, of course. But I wasn't going to Switzerland to be a travel vlogger necessarily. I was there to be with my son and just to enjoy the time. I thought maybe I could get a little bit of, use the backdrop and all that. And in the end, I did. I just had my phone, and every few seconds I saw something, I did like a few seconds here, a few seconds there. And I was able to like create these little like 1-2 minute like Instagram reels or TikToks that when I looked at them later and I had a little bit of music and I didn't add anything else, and that meant a lot to me. Like I would tear up watching these things, and it wasn't planned at all. It's just, I recorded the unfolding before me in a way that was authentic and aligned and in the moment. And that's just what came out of it. And I think so much of what we do creatively, when we're at our best, so to speak, it's because we're in line and in tune with the moment. And we're seeing it not necessarily as a way to document it, but a way to experience the moment through a medium or format that just feels aligned. I've got goosebumps right now. My crown is like, it's on fire, and I'm getting full body goosebumps. So to me, there's a truth in that. And I think sometimes, and I can only speak for myself, is that we get so draconian, so strict on how it should be. And we're trying to dictate something that wants to reveal itself in its own way, if that makes any sense. In getting rid of all those shot lists and B-roll and all that, those outlines and spreadsheets, I was able to breathe. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't ever and can never come up with ideas and sort of outlines and all that. I do that often. But I think I felt a part of me wanted to really dictate this. And I've forgotten. And that's the voice that was like in Zurich, was like reminding me like, no, you can't dictate this. It's like trying to move the mountain. The mountain is. I can walk on it and around it and through it and up it and over it. And I can experience it as the mountain, but I can't replace the mountain. I can't try to be the mountain. And the creative energy, the creative force is there to integrate our experience and our self-expression in a way that can move us, can move others, but also really allows us to be in the moment. And so even those quick little videos I was doing, I was still in the moment. And I was experiencing nature and this connection to my son and all that in a way that it just felt aligned. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I know that when you can let go and just release and trust that what will come to you, then you can make magic. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you can't have structure. Like you can't just go willy-nilly. You can, absolutely. The creative force will take you wherever it goes. But even if you're a photographer doing portraits or some corporate things, or if you're doing a film, or if you're a writer and you have a structure in a novel or short story, you have a character arc and all that, of course, those are all important. But that's just like the rebar, right? That's just the structure that you can hang everything else on. And in my case, the structure was just the moment. It was Switzerland. That was the structure, the scaffolding in where my creative spirit showed up in this trip. It'll be different if I'm walking around and I'm trying to convey a certain point, or I have educational stuff I want to share. I may have some outlines and some points, of course. But there are times when you can just unshackle yourself from all the expectations of what you think needs to happen and just allow it to unfold. And maybe that's the invitation. Maybe that's why I had no idea what I was really going to share here. I had a little idea, but no outline, no script, nothing. Which is hard for me because as you can tell, I like certain order. But part of my growth in this creative alchemy is to allow myself to trust that what will come will come. And so the invitation to you, perhaps if you're watching this, and if you're like me, and you like to have all the lists and have everything just so laid out that it doesn't give you much wiggle room, then maybe what plan you have, what would it feel like to just let it go, to put it to the side, rip it up, bin it, and just allow what needs to allow and what wants to allow to come into view, into focus. What would that be like? And as I think about it, there's a reason why so much of our creativity, and I don't mean just artistry, creativity can also be like coming up with solutions to problems they might be having or whatever it is. So much of it comes to us when we're not actively thinking, like in the shower, driving the car, walking the dog, whatever it is. And so again, what would it be like to remove the restrictions and trying to control it and just allow it to flow through? It's something an overthinker like me struggles with, but I'm getting better at it. And this trip was a perfect example. Part of me was horrified when I ripped all that up. Sure, I could have looked it up on my phone and all that, but I just knew that was the right thing. So again, maybe also it's like, what is the creative voice telling you? Where is it guiding you? Where is it directing you? And just follow it. Just be curious, because that's the biggest thing with creativity is curiosity. Where is this going to go? I don't know. So we'll leave it for there for two reasons. First, I have said what I needed to say. Secondly, and just as importantly, it's getting hot in here. I'll explain. There's a vent right here you can't see. And here in Toronto, this is July 2025. It's a heat wave right now. And because of the noise, I have to turn off the air conditioner and it's already getting hot. It's been about 10, 15 minutes I've been recording. I need to turn this back on so we're all comfortable. So anyway, not that you need to know that, but hence my iced coffee. Thank you for watching. My name is Paul Silva. This is The Creative Alchemist. Share, like, subscribe, do all the things. And I'd love to hear your comments. Has there been a time where you've just thrown everything to the wind, caution to the wind, and just done your thing? Or is it really scary to let go? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Anyway, create often, create well.